Everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Another week, Alonso, Matt, Christy, looking at the week's news.
There's so much this week, you guys. This is a jam-packed episode. We've got a ton of news, but also some really big movies, including The Suicide Squad. I keep wanting to call it Suicide Squad.
No.
It's it has a definite article in front of it. The Suicide Squad.
Boy, does it.
It is definitely an article. So, but we're going to begin with news, some stuff that has broken in the last day or so. We have been following the ongoing saga of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and the Golden Globes and all of their myriad ethical quandaries that they've placed themselves in, and just being a joke of an organization in general. They voted to make the kinds of changes that the industry has been clamoring for, meaning the studios and publicists and networks. NBC, which airs the Golden Globes. And so they voted 63-19 to go forward with a whole bunch of changes in terms of diversifying their membership and like not being on the take.
Earning salaries, Christy. They're earning salaries, but they're a nonprofit.
Right. So
but they have so much money. Like, yeah, I mean, they have a ton of money already. So, yeah. I mean,
who knows what form this will take or what timetable this will occur on. It is the beginning step forward. I think the LA Times headline was something about how they have like pulled themselves away from the abyss.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason they're doing all this is because NBC and then so many of the organizations that they rely upon for screenings and access to talent, you know, Netflix and various studios have been like, well, we're not playing this until you guys get your house in order. I would imagine that for a lot of those folks, they're going to need to see some tangible walking of the walk before they really undo that boycott. And I don't know that just talking the talk is going to do it for right now.
I mean, we are in mid-August, and so next year's Golden Globes will not air on NBC, but I guess the question becomes, like in the future, like 2023, will that be a thing that's possible?
I mean, you know, I imagine that for a very long time, you know, NBC was enjoying the relationship. I'm sure they were getting decent ratings out of it, even though all award shows are down these days. And I bet you they probably, you know, if they can muster up some way of having an awards in 2022, whether or not it's on NBC, I'm sure they'll still do it just because they don't want to have like a missing year in their records. But yeah, I think this is that whole thing about this is a very large boat and we got to turn it around, you know. And
the name itself has been such a joke that just a vote on changes means nothing. And I feel like for a long time, like potentially for decades to come, the idea of the Golden Globes will remain a joke.
But here's the thing. They've been down this road before. You know, they were a joke in the 80s. Pia Zadora, exactly. And they somehow bounced back from that. So don't ever count out the Hollywood Foreign Press. Those guys are like cockroaches, not in the bad way, in the resilient way.
I would say the difference with the Pia Zadora incident is that without the internet, you didn't have this cottage industry that of never letting certain things die, right? And so absolutely, I think that the HFPA should change what they're doing. No question about that. They're going to have to do some very public, very forward, outward-facing changes to show what's going on before they even talk about doing another show, because you have to imagine people, you know, any other press is going to be asking NBC like, hey, what are you doing with HFPA? Or if somebody says, oh, I've been booked to do their show. Oh, really? What do you think about their shenanigans? Like that that's an easy like clickbaity headline, right? So I think they've got a long road ahead of them. I think it's going to be tough.
We are about to be treated to a PR bonanza, the likes of which we have rarely seen in our lifetimes. But because there is so much money at stake here, they're going to do that PR bonanza to sort of fix their rep in this industry and get things back to the way they were. And so
they have the money. Yeah, they do have the money.
They haven't done it yet, but I'm not putting it past them to do all the things they need to do to put themselves back in whatever good graces they ever had, with certainly, I think for a lot of people, anybody who's not directly involved in terms of like a network or a studio, an agency who is still nonetheless paying attention to the industry understands that the Golden Globes are a joke. But I think the studios and the networks and the agencies understand that they're a joke they get broadcast on a very widely seen television show.
There's a lot of money to be made there still. Yes,
exactly. So I think it behooves not only the HFPA, but the companies that keep them afloat to fix this thing. And so, right now it looks unfixable, but these are the people who fix stuff like this, whatever effort it takes, and it's shockingly a lot of times it works.
The entertainment industrial complex chugs along apace. There was a teaser for Stranger Things season 4 that came out this morning. I don't know if you guys watched it. I know, Alonso, you don't like trailers. This is like a teaser. Basically, it's like a minute-long thing, and the first 30 seconds of it are like a previously on, like with little like rapid-fire clips edited together, kind of recapping all that, and then just like people running and looking scared and some monsters. So it didn't show a whole lot, but I got everyone talking about it today. But also we did get the news that it will not be coming out now until 2022.
So, I mean, did they know that before they launched the teaser, or?
I think the teaser was to announce that because it said coming 2022, and I thought
that's
it was
not that far.
I thought it was supposed to have been December of this year, but Nick said it was August. Nick said it was August 2022, and he keeps up with these things, right?
Well, they got to do this show fast before everybody's got a mustache,
Yes. I mean, they're already all too tall to be in the upside down. So there is that. I don't know if you guys saw this ridiculous article in Vanity Fair with Jake Gyllenhaal announcing he does not bathe. Why, celebrities? Why do you keep not showering?
And why do you keep talking about it?
Well, here's why. It was a Vanity Fair article timed to, ironically enough, this new Prada fragrance that Jake Gyllenhaal is the face of.
Okay.
And there's some whole campaign with like a yacht or whatever. And so this whole article was like an ad for this Prada cologne that he is the face of. And the reporter asked him about his own bathing rituals. And he said, I actually don't like to bathe that much. He feels like the human body cleans itself. Like we're all kitty cats licking our little paws.
Oh God. Here's my first thought when you talk about like not bathing and fragrance. When I lived in Dallas, I worked at a film festival office, and there was the guy who would come to repair the copy machine back in the 90s. It was one of those dudes who like always had BO, and his solution to that was instead of bathing to put on more Old Spice. And it got to the point where like when he came, I had to just physically remove myself from the office because it was such an overwhelming combo of scents. I couldn't deal with it.
In Texas heat.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know that Prada is necessarily thinking that this is the way they want people to wear their new cologne, or maybe it is. What do I know?
Yes. So the thing that was lighting up Twitter with anger all this week was the news that for the new Jeopardy host, Mike Richards is in advanced talks, quote unquote, advanced talks to be the new Jeopardy host. They had this whole long search and various celebrities tried out, including Anderson Cooper and Mayim Bialik and Ken Jennings, who has guest hosted the most. And LeVar Burton was a big fan.
Who's the most important one? Yes, LeVar Burton.
Everyone wanted LeVar Burton. And there's a whole, everyone meaning Twitter, which of course Twitter is not necessarily a reflection of the real world. No. But there was a lot, I know, right? The Twitterverse is not the universe, but there's a whole lot of love for LeVar Burton out there. And then when it was announced that, Mike Richards pretty much has this thing sealed up, that was kind of distressing because he's a very safe pick. It's kind of, he's a kind of bland middle-aged white dude, but he's also an executive producer on the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's problematic too.
I've decided that I'm going to negotiate with myself to give myself the job as the host of my show.
This is so Dick Cheney. Who should be my running mate? Dick? Me.
Yes, but so have you caught the stuff about the mentions he got in the harassment and discrimination suits that came up 10 years ago around The Price is Right? Yeah,
so he was a producer on The Price is Right. So I actually know him and have worked with him a little bit because he was a host on Reel's channel back when Reel's channel actually was TV about movies, as they labeled themselves as when they launched 15 years ago. Chris was an executive producer at Reel's channel, and I used to go on there all the time. Speaking of nepotism and favors, I've been on many of my husband's shows over the years, but one of them was this thing called Dailies, and it'd be like me and Paul Gagarian, and we do like a news roundup kind of like this, and Mike Richards hosted that show, and he's like nice and fine and a totally safe pick when they could have done something really interesting and exciting. Even like Ken Jennings is a middle-aged white dude, but he would have been, a better choice.
Well, two observations. One, somebody said that this is the classic thing that companies do when they just want to hire from within. They still have the job interviews and advertise the position being open because they have to and they need to. But ultimately, the whole thing is a farce because they made their mind up. And Mark Harris rightly pointed out that, if the producers of Jeopardy are going to make the Twitterverse think they have a say in this and then completely ignore what those people say, then they deserve all the backlash they get from all the people who are now mad that they're ignoring this sort of like online vox populi and going for this internal hire.
Yeah. Matt, do you have thoughts on this? Do you care who hosts Jeopardy?
I would be more likely to watch it if LeVar Burton was host. But outside of that, I don't really care. It is disappointing to see that, we're just going to go with the standard guy that's been producing the show anyway. It really does feel like I'm going to make it look like there's, exactly what Alonso says. I have to imagine that guy's been angling to take the job over all along.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he hasn't been there very long is the thing. He has a game show history. He's worked on a bunch of different game shows and reality shows as an EP, behind the scenes. And, he has hosting experience too.
But it's like, look, everybody, women of color. Oh, but no, it's going to be a white guy.
It was me all
along.
This James Gunn, Martin Scorsese thing just won't die.
Martin scores easy.
It's the latest thing is that, and James Gunn's like a candid guy, and we're going to talk about the Suicide Squad in a little bit here, but I feel like he says there's no filter. He says things and then maybe gets into trouble afterward. And something like Twitter is not the best place for nuance or context, things like that. But anyway, he says that Martin Scorsese criticized Marvel, quote, to get attention for his own movies. That's the most absolutely condensed version of what that whole discussion was about, because Scorsese said that Marvel movies are not cinema. It just keeps going.
Well, so let's play devil's advocate on Gunn's side, right? Why would Scorsese, why does he feel that he needs to even bring up Marvel movies?
Wasn't he asked about it in a 2019 interview with Empire? He tried to watch a superhero film and said, but that's not cinema. I tried, but that's not cinema. And then now, recently, James Gunn said, it just seems awful. It just seems awful cynical that he'd keep coming out against Marvel. And then that's the only thing that would get him pressed for his movie. So then he just keeps coming out against Marvel.
But I don't think Scorsese, it makes it sound like he brings it up all the time. No. I don't think he does. I think it's because he said that one thing once, everybody asked.
And everybody covered it.
Marvel directors about it now, and it becomes this topic that they won't die. And obviously, if they didn't care what Scorsese thinks, then nobody would talk about this in the first place. So it's like.
I will say, and look, I know I'm going to get shit for this. I think that was a dumb thing for Scorsese to say. there is more than his definition of cinema, right? And like, be clear on what that means. But whatever, he said it. Somebody asked James Gunn a provocative question, probably, and he said something provocative. What do you think was going to happen, right? I mean, it's going to get. I mean, look, like, he's arguably doing the same thing Scorsese did, or that he says Scorsese did, which Gunn does all the time. But yeah, who cares?
It's clickbaity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, brought it up because people are talking about it.
Yeah. Like, look, ultimately, it makes sense you ask Scorsese about the current most popular thing in film, because he is a film scholar on top of being a director. He is a cineast. He is somebody who has spent a lot of his own resources to promote international cinema from like areas of the world that we don't necessarily get to see very much in the West, for restorations, for all kinds of stuff. And so it's like, yeah, he doesn't like the thing you like. And so maybe he thinks it's not cinema and that it's audio visual entertainment, whatever, like heaven knows you don't care when run-of-the-mill film critics don't like this stuff. So why do you care if this guy who is a leading filmmaker and film scholar doesn't like it? Carry on. Those movies are still being made and they're still making a shit ton of money.
Right. I guess my only point about Scorsese is a guy who's so deep in restoration and looking at classic film. I do wonder a little bit, like, is there something he's missing in the way films are made now? Maybe.
Well,
I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, he did acknowledge he had that learning curve with The Irishman in terms of like the special effects and the de-aging and the green screen. Like that, he said, was a new way of making movies for him after all of these years. So
I think that he has a point, and I think that point unfortunately gets boiled down into a soundbite that makes it sound more provocative than it necessarily is. He doesn't say that they're not entertaining, but I think he's just looking at them as a kind of corporate product as opposed to a more creator-driven film, and he is entitled to have that opinion. Sure. And it's not like he's actively crushing superhero movies from getting released. He's too busy trying to get another gangster African movie. Cinema on. Yes, exactly. That's all he does. He's more actively trying to get African cinema on the Criterion Channel. So like everybody just step back a bit.
Yes. Speaking of cinema, we're going to get 14 new South Park movies. This is $900 million deal that the South Park guys.
Now that's cinema.
Viacom. 5 more seasons of South Park, which will bring us to 30, and then 14 new South Park movies. They can't all be feature length, right? That's a lot. How many times can Kenny die? Okay, but look at it another way. Don't look at it as 14 theatrical releases. Look at it as 14 90-minute TV movies going directly to Paramount Plus, right? Like it's 14 times they do 3-part episodes. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, look, I love Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Like that is a great musical. Don't we all? That is a great musical. Full stop. Like, and I wish at the time that they had continued making feature-length films like that. I know they went through a lot of hell with Paramount and other people to get it done, but that is a great film. That was also 22 years ago. And in that time, South Park has kind of it's just still there. It's sort of like, I know there are people who still keep up with The Simpsons, but I think for most of the culture it's like, oh yeah, that's still on. So yeah, I'm not necessarily all that excited about what Parker and Stone want to do in 2021, given that like that feature and the Book of Mormon, both great musicals, are so far behind them now, and they haven't shown a lot of interest in keeping that momentum going. They're, I think, very happily getting paid to do what they do, and they do exactly what they do and not much else. So this deal means they will be called upon to do more, but I just don't know how exciting it's going to be. I would love to be proven wrong. Well, my deep love of Team America World Police. I gave it 4 stars when it came out. I mean, look, Uncle Fucker still slaps, and that would be hard to top. I know they don't like it. I still have a soft spot for basketball. I like basketball too, actually. I know they don't particularly like it, and they weren't that proud of it, but well, they didn't. It wasn't their baby, right? So
Cobie Smulders is going to replace Betty Gilpin as Ann Coulter in the latest American Crime Story series. They're doing one on the Clinton impeachment. And it was just a scheduling conflict because of COVID and because, all production is kind of wacky still. But Betty Gilpin said that she spent like a year listening to Ann Coulter audio tapes to perfect the accent.
At some point, Betty Gilpin has to play a Fox News pundit. Like, she would just nail that.
Does she get hazard pay for having to listen to all that?
Acting is not all glamour.
Ann Coulter, my sorority sister.
Oh.
She was a DG at Cornell.
Maybe don't tell people that.
We also had Julia Louis-Dreyfus, though, and Eva Marie Saint. We have a lot of good ones.
Okay.
Lovely women. Speaking of giant deals, Reese Witherspoon has sold her Hello Sunshine media production company also for $900 million.
Yeah, that's
why
the going
is that
rate.
The number?
I don't know. Explain Hello Sunshine to me because I don't know what they do.
Well, they did Gone Girl. It was it's her production company, which was behind Gone Girl and Wild and The Morning Show. And
it's like her
Big Little
Amblin.
Lies.
I see.
It's like her what, Matt?
Amblin.
Right, but it's other stuff too. It's not just that. It's like her book club is part of it.
Right,
And
it's her
so
brand.
it's like it's like her brand, her like multimedia cross-platform.
It's her goop.
It's her goop without the vaginal steaming eggs.
Yet.
Things like that.
Or candles. No, you know what? That's great for her. Awesome.
Sure.
I have to imagine at some point is the 900 million like, well, we can't tell our shareholders we spent $1 billion on her company. But that's awesome. Like, I love to see that that's happening. She's talented. She's making good stuff, and she's bringing stories that we wouldn't otherwise see, I think, in a lot of cases. So I think that's great news.
A lot of stories about complicated, flawed women, which is always interesting. And that's definitely been a thrust for her to want to tell this kind of story. So there is that. We've talked a lot in the past about different award shows and critics groups and how they are trying to navigate an increasing need to be sensitive with transgender performers and pronouns and gender
non-binary.
labeling. Right. And so the Gotham Awards, which are, a sort of independent film award based in New York, they're part of IFP. They're going to do gender neutral acting categories.
Yep. Which is cool because I think, when we've talked about sort of awards bodies doing this sort of thing, the concern is always like, oh, are the dues just going to come in and elbow everybody else out? And I know my understanding of the Gotham Awards, if it's anything like the Spirit Awards, which I've been on their jury in the past, it's not like it's a numerical tally and the top 10 vote getters get it. It's a committee that sits around and crafts each category and like looks at like, what do we think of this and who do we put in and out, and by consensus comes up with 10 nominees. So in that context, I think that's not going to be a thing that's going to happen. If this notion spills over to things like the Globes or the Oscars or whatever, then they are going to have to figure out a way how to address that so it isn't pure numbers.
I've been on Gotham Award committees several times.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, like you watch a bunch of stuff and then you get on the phone with other people. And so there's one committee that does like best feature and like best first feature and something breakthrough director or something like that. And then there is one that does the acting categories. And
although one of the acting categories is television.
They separate them out. I've never done television. I've only done movies.
Which committee does Bruce Wayne sit on?
What?
The Gotham Awards.
Oh,
did not
go
get
home.
that.
Oh, you are
terrible.
home.
I am home.
That was terrible. Anyway, so I'm curious to know, like, does everyone get like lumped into one? Is there like one non-binary one, and then there's
10 nominees for like lead and 10 nominees for supporting, and then 10 nominees, I think, for breakthrough television or something.
Right. So it's best human actor.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. And I think that the concern that people have had in the past in talking about this sort of thing is if you strip away the binary divide, that like, although the men are going to come run rampage over everything. But, I think, again, like with these sort of curated awards, like the Gothams, like the Spirit Awards, where you have a committee crafting an entire category and not merely just like tallying, I think that at least ensures that there will be a much more even playing field.
Oh yeah, we're definitely like on the phone having a conversation with each other. There's a give and take.
Yeah, I like the idea, knowing that there's a committee, kind of like that somebody's paying attention, right? But yeah, I like if somebody, say the Academy, is going to do the same thing, I would hope that there'd be more guardrails around it. But
I would also be curious to see, Christy and I are both members of LA Film Critics. We give out 2 leads and 2 supportings. At the moment, they're divvied by gender binary. But if we were to take that away, would we just have 2 lead awards and 2 supporting awards? I don't know how that functions when you're dealing with that few slots, as opposed to something like the 10 acting slots that you have for like the Gothams.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And then who votes for the Gothams? It's like IFP members, the way like Spirit Awards are, where it's the members, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Because we just pick nominees.
Right. Yes. The committees come up with the nominees, and then, but here's the thing now, instead of you had 10 lead performances that would walk away with 2 awards, now presumably you're gonna have 10 leads and only 1 award.
Yeah, that's a good question. So your chances are smaller of winning. Anyway, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
The fine folks, they're lovely at the Gothams. They have great taste.
The world is evolving.
It really is. Did you guys watch any of the Olympics this week?
Nope.
Simone Biles won a gold medal after all the highs and lows and the expectations and the pressure. She won a bronze. She won a bronze on the balance beam. She had pulled out of other events and then finally did the beam, and she won her bronze, and Chinese gymnasts took gold and silver. But it was like a hard-earned thing, and it was, I remember she tweeted this past week, once she said that she was pulling out of the team competition and taking time to deal with mental health. She tweeted something like, the outpouring has been incredible. For the first time in my life, I feel like people love me for who I am and not just because of what I can do.
Oh, wow.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah.
I like the news about the high jumper from Qatar and the high jumper from Italy, that they were tied and they were going to have a jump off, and they're like, can we just share it? And the official's like, sure. Like, that's awesome.
And
that's a Ted Lasso moment.
That totally is. We're talking about Ted Lasso later on today. And then Allison Phoenix has now won like 10 medals. She's like the most decorated woman track and field athlete in history. So, and she's a mom. I'm going to go out there and get my medals now too. It's time.
Why not? I get little notices from outsports.com on my Facebook feed about athletes either coming out like, in a press conference or like just on their Instagram pages. Like it's apparently it's getting real gay at the Olympics. So hooray.
Who else came out?
Oh, honey, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know.
Well, I got to know now.
Well, go look at outsports.com. I don't know. I don't follow sports.
Adam Rippon has been doing all kinds of cute like Twitter live videos and coverage of gymnastics. And he is just endlessly handsome and charming and funny.
I need to go watch Amber Ruffin's Olympic coverage. I've been told that's real fun.
Oh, okay.
Over on Peacock.
Coming to a close soon. Okay, a couple things more. Devin Nunes is suing NBC, saying that Rachel Maddow defamed him. This is California Congressman and major Trump ally, Devin Nunes. He sued the cow.
Exactly.
Fake Twitter account, Devin Nunes' cow. He is saying that Rachel Maddow defamed him by saying that he was involved with
I'm sure Rachel Maddow would welcome the opportunity to talk under oath and have Devin Nunes cross-examined under oath about all the things that were discussed.
Or discovery, like the discovery phase of that is even better, right? Like, yeah, let's look at all your emails. Please. Absolutely. Let's look at all your texts. Let's go.
Hand them over.
I love when dumb assholes file lawsuits. Like, yeah, I'll show you. It's like, oh, right, but there's discovery. We can see everything now. And then Kathy Griffin says that she has stage 1 lung cancer, but she had surgery this week and she's feeling better. She caught it early. She's going to be okay. But she was very candid about saying that in recent years, she has felt very depressed and even suicidal after the whole thing with the photo shoot with holding up Trump's bloody head. And
well, she had a painkiller addiction, which that she went to rehab for after attempting suicide, apparently, which is news to me. I did not know any of this stuff, but yeah, she's a trooper. If you haven't seen the documentary that she did about the whole Trump photo and the fallout from that, and then the doc is, the first half is like practically like a news story about like what happened and this and this and then and these people responded or whatever, and then the last half is just her stand-up routine about it. It's pretty great.
I want to do a few quick COVID things, and we'll move on to film reviews because we've got 4 movies to get through today.
Okay.
California is mandating that all health workers get vaccinated. That's 2 million plus people. They have till the end of September. New York City is requiring vaccination proof at indoor businesses again, starting September. That's bars, restaurants, gyms, etc. And the city of LA is also considering something similar, some kind of vaccination proof. Tyson Foods will require employees to be vaccinated, which is huge because like meat processing plants have been just like cesspools of disease. New Jersey is going to require masks for all students K through 12, going back to school here in a little bit. CNN fired a few people who came to work without being vaccinated. They are requiring it of their employees, as is the Washington Examiner, interestingly enough, the conservative newspaper, the Washington Examiner. Lindsey Graham tested positive for COVID. South Carolina Senator and Trump golf partner, Lindsey Graham.
And Steel Magnolia.
Right. He was happy, though. He said, I'm so happy I was vaccinated because I'm going to be okay. And Eric Clapton says he will not play any venue where proof of vaccination is required.
Eric Clapton may continue to go fuck himself. Oh, he's been crazy for ages.
Has he? Okay.
Go read his like racist statements from the 70s, where he talked about how like all the black people should be forced out of the United Kingdom. Like he's a mess, that guy.
Oh, one more thing. This is a good thing. Yelp is going to offer a feature that lets you search for businesses that require masks.
I like it. They should also show businesses that require proof of vaccination.
Yeah, that's probably coming too. A little box you can click. Anyway, so that is my news roundup for you guys.
Woo, so much. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And hey, why not check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Lots of cool exclusive stuff there, including right now our recaps of Ted Lasso season 2. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you. Bye.